As we previously mentioned, session only started meeting every 5 years beginning in 1970. But what about before then? We brought in our church historian, David Trim, to explain the origins of session, stretching all the way back to 1863.
July 2015 will see a landmark in Adventist history. The 60th General Conference session will convene in San Antonio. Some 2,500 delegates from 626 conferences and missions and 128 unions from all around the world will transact the church's official business at San Antonio. What a contrast with the first founding General Conference session on May 20 and 21, 1863. 20 delegates, all of them men, came to Battle Creek, Michigan, representing just 5 conferences in the Northeast and Midwest of the United States. The session met for 1 full day and parts of 2 others. But then on May 22 through May 24, the 20 delegates joined in holding 8 evangelistic meetings in Battle Creek. Our founders valued committees, constitutions, proper procedure and organization, but only as means to an end, and the end they had in sight was the end of time and the second coming of Jesus Christ. From 1863 until 1889, General Conference sessions were held annually. The first 14 meetings were all in Battle Creek. Not until 1876 did delegates convene elsewhere, and then they met close to home in Lansing, Michigan. It was 1882 when 21 delegates met for the 21st session in Rome, New York, before a session was held outside the state of Michigan. A notable first came in 1887 when 70 delegates to the 26th session met in Oakland, California, the first session held on the west coast of North America. But it is an amazing fact that Battle Creek hosted 23 of the first 28 sessions and 27 in all. In this period, GC sessions were dynamic theaters for discussions and decision-making among denominational leaders. The 11th session in March 1873, for example, was notable for discussions about mission that finally tipped the balance for the young church and made it commit to overseas missionary work. The 27th session in Minneapolis in October 1888 was the scene of vigorous debate about Adventist understandings of salvation and prophecy, and the influence of that meeting was felt for decades. The following session after that, the 28th in 1889, voted to make sessions biennial rather than annual. That 1889 session was the first attended by more than 100 delegates. The 109 included delegates from Germany, Scandinavia, the British Isles, Switzerland, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. The next 8 sessions, starting in 1891, were held every second year. This included the momentous 34th session in 1901, which entirely reorganized Adventist organization. And it was also the last to be held in Battle Creek. 4 years later, in 1905, the 197 delegates who met in Washington, D.C., agreed that sessions should become quadrennial, held every 4 years. And that remained the rule until 1970, except during the 2 World Wars and the Great Depression. And during that era, San Francisco became, in a sense, the new Battle Creek, because of the 11 sessions that met from 1918 to 1962, 8 were held in San Francisco. The 1954 session in San Francisco was the first to be attended by more than 1,000 delegates. The 50th session, held in Detroit, Michigan in 1966, was the 30th and last session to meet in Michigan, reflecting the way that the church has transcended its 19th century roots. The 1970 session in Atlantic City, New Jersey was the last quadrennial session. It voted to make sessions quinquennial, that is, held every 5 years. And the decision was made in light of the numbers of delegates. There were 1,782 in 1970, and the fact that they now came from truly all around the world. Since the 52nd session held in Vienna in 1975, GC sessions have been 5-yearly events. That Vienna session was a landmark in another and more important way, however, because it was the first time in our history that a session met outside the United States, and it has since happened twice more. The 56th and 57th sessions were held in Utrecht in the Netherlands in 1995 and Toronto, Canada in 2000. Meanwhile, in 1985, the 54th session in New Orleans was the first to have over 2,000 delegates. The San Antonio session will be the 5th to be attended by more than 2,000 official representatives. So the original 20 delegates of 1863 have been multiplied well over 100-fold. But General Conference sessions are about more than numbers or official proceedings, vital as those are. At sessions, tens of thousands of Seventh-day Adventists share experiences, learning about each other, celebrating and condoling with each other, and rejoicing at being part of a great movement dedicated to proclaiming Jesus as Lord, Savior, and High Priest, and committed to sharing the prophetic truth of the angels of Revelation 14. General Conference sessions remind us of how far we have come, but also of the fact that while we don't know how many more sessions there will be, we can be sure that in a little while we're going home.